Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right, eating fruit every single day, choosing what you believe are the healthiest options, and yet something inside your body is quietly getting worse? Because here's the part most people are never told. By the time your creatinine levels start to rise, you may have already lost up to half of your kidney function. And that damage doesn't just come back. Now let that sink in for a moment. Something as simple as your daily fruit habit, the very thing you trust to keep you healthy, could be placing silent pressure on your kidneys day after day without a single warning sign. And what makes this even more dangerous is that you won't feel it happening. No pain, no clear symptoms, just a slow decline that only shows up when it's already serious. But here's the good news, because once you understand what's really going on, you can change it, starting today. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly which common fruits may be silently harming your kidneys. And more importantly, the 4 powerful fruits that can actually help protect, stabilize, and support your kidney function when used the right way. I'm Dr. Ethan Caldwell, and what you're about to hear could completely change how you look at healthy eating for the rest of your life. Let's start with something most people completely overlook: the simple apple. It doesn't look powerful, it's not trendy, and it certainly doesn't feel like medicine. But when it comes to protecting your kidneys, apples may be one of the smartest choices you can make, especially if your kidney function isn't what it used to be. Here's why. Unlike fruits that overload your system with potassium, a single medium apple contains a relatively low amount, making it much safer for kidneys that are already struggling to filter properly. But the real advantage isn't just what apples don't have, it's what they do. Inside the flesh, and especially the skin, apples are rich in a type of soluble fiber called pectin. Think of pectin as a kind of internal cleanup crew. Instead of forcing your kidneys to work harder filtering toxins and excess phosphorus from your blood, pectin binds to these waste compounds in your digestive system and removes them before they ever reach your kidneys. In other words, you're not just eating a fruit, you're giving your body a second filtration pathway. I remember a patient who came in frustrated. He was doing everything right, eating clean, avoiding processed food, even adding fruit every morning. But his lab results kept getting worse. When we looked closer, we realized he was unknowingly choosing fruits that were putting extra stress on his kidneys. We made one small change, replacing those with a daily apple, eaten with the skin. 3 months later, his phosphorus levels stabilized, and for the first time in a year, his numbers stopped climbing. And this isn't just anecdotal. Research published in kidney health journals shows that higher dietary fiber intake is associated with significantly better phosphorus control, in some cases improving markers by over 20%. That's not a small shift. That's a meaningful change in how your kidneys are being supported every single day. But there's a detail most people miss. If you peel the apple, you lose a large portion of its protective compounds, including powerful antioxidants like quercetin that help reduce inflammation inside kidney tissue. And inflammation, as you may not realize yet, is one of the silent drivers of kidney decline. So something as simple as how you eat the apple can completely change its impact. And maybe that's the bigger lesson here. It's not about doing more, it's about doing the right thing consistently. But even if you start adding apples into your routine today, that alone isn't enough to fully protect your kidneys. Because reducing the workload is only the first step, and what your kidneys need next goes far deeper, at the cellular level. But protecting your kidneys isn't just about reducing the workload, it's about shielding the damage before it even begins. And this is where something much smaller and far more powerful comes into play: blueberries. They're easy to ignore, small, soft, almost insignificant. But inside that deep blue skin is one of the most potent natural defenses your kidneys can get: compounds called anthocyanins. Now here's what most people don't realize. Kidney damage doesn't just come from overload. It comes from chronic, low-grade inflammation and oxidative stress silently attacking your kidney cells every single day. And once that process starts, it doesn't stop on its own. Anthocyanins act like microscopic bodyguards. They don't just float in your bloodstream. Studies show they can actually reach kidney tissue directly, helping reduce the inflammatory signals that damage nephrons, the tiny filtration units keeping you alive. In fact, research has found that diets rich in anthocyanins can reduce kidney-related inflammatory markers by up to 40 to 47% in a matter of weeks. That's not just prevention, that's active protection happening at the cellular level. I once worked with a patient in her late 50s. She was disciplined, careful, but frustrated. Her numbers weren't improving, no matter how healthy she ate. When we reviewed her routine, we noticed something subtle. Her breakfasts were high in sugar-heavy fruits. We made a simple shift. Half a cup of blueberries, just a few times a week, replacing those choices. 6 months later, her kidney function didn't just stabilize, it stopped declining altogether. And what struck me most was what she said. For the first time, I feel like my body isn't fighting me anymore. Because that's what blueberries do. They calm the internal storm. They also improve insulin sensitivity, helping regulate blood sugar, which is critical because unstable glucose levels are one of the fastest ways to accelerate kidney damage. Some studies even suggest regular blueberry consumption improves long-term blood sugar control by over 20%. So now you're not just reducing pressure, you're actively protecting the system. But here's where it gets interesting. Because once your kidneys are no longer under constant attack, the next step isn't just protection, it's recovery. And very few people realize that certain foods can actually help switch that process back on. But just knowing this still isn't enough, because there's another factor, far more powerful and far more overlooked, that could change everything. And once you've reduced the pressure and protected your kidneys from ongoing damage, there's one more level most people never even realize exists: the ability to help your kidneys repair themselves. This is where red grapes quietly change the game. At first glance, they seem like just another sweet snack, but inside their deep red and purple skins is a compound that has been studied for years in longevity and cellular health: resveratrol. And this is where things get powerful. Resveratrol doesn't just support your body, it activates specific proteins inside your cells, often referred to as sirtuins, that are directly involved in repairing DNA damage, reducing inflammation, and restoring cellular balance. In simple terms, it helps turn on your body's built-in repair system. Now think about that for a second. Most people assume that once kidney function declines, it's a one-way path. But emerging research suggests that under the right conditions, certain aspects of that damage can actually stabilize, even improve. One clinical observation showed that individuals with kidney stress who regularly consumed resveratrol-rich foods experienced measurable improvements in kidney function markers. In some cases, improvements of over 20% within several months. I remember a patient who had been dealing with high blood pressure for years, the kind that slowly damages the tiny blood vessels inside the kidneys. His labs were drifting in the wrong direction, and he felt like he was just waiting for the next bad result. We didn't overhaul his entire lifestyle overnight. Instead, we made a targeted adjustment: a small handful of red grapes, a few times per week, always with the skin. A few months later, something shifted. His numbers didn't just plateau, they began to move in the opposite direction. Not dramatically, not instantly, but enough to change the trajectory. Because what red grapes protect isn't just the kidneys themselves, they protect the blood vessels feeding them. And when those microscopic vessels stay flexible and healthy, your kidneys can continue filtering the way they're supposed to. But there's a nuance here that matters. Grapes contain natural sugars, glucose and fructose, and too much can work against you. So this isn't about eating more, it's about eating with precision. Around 15 to 20 grapes a few times a week is enough to deliver the benefit without creating new stress. And always remember, the darker the grape, the higher the concentration of resveratrol. So now you're not just reducing damage and not just protecting your cells, you're actively supporting recovery from within. But even that isn't the full picture, because deep inside kidney tissue, there's still something lingering: inflammation, protein buildup, microscopic debris. And if that isn't addressed, progress can stall. And that leads to the final piece most people completely overlook: the part that doesn't just repair, but helps your body clear out what's already there. But just knowing this still isn't enough, because there's another factor far more dangerous than most people realize. And that brings us to the final piece, the one most people completely underestimate, yet it may be the missing link between slow decline and real recovery: pineapple. Now, I know what you're thinking. Pineapple? It sounds more like a dessert than something that could support your kidneys. But that assumption is exactly why so many people overlook its power. Because pineapple doesn't just protect, it helps your body clear out what's already causing damage. At the center of this is an enzyme called bromelain, found especially in the core of fresh pineapple. And unlike many nutrients that simply support your system, bromelain actively works to break down inflammatory proteins and cellular debris that accumulate inside tissues, including the kidneys. Think of it this way: if apples help reduce the load, blueberries protect the cells, and grapes support repair, then pineapple is what helps clean the environment those cells are trying to survive in. And that matters more than most people realize. Chronic inflammation doesn't just damage kidney tissue, it creates a cycle. The more inflammation builds up, the harder it becomes for your kidneys to function, and the harder it is for your body to recover. Studies have shown that bromelain can reduce inflammation markers associated with chronic conditions by up to 40% or more, while also improving overall tissue function. That's not just a minor benefit, that's a shift in the internal environment your kidneys depend on. I once had a patient who described constant swelling, fatigue, and that heavy, sluggish feeling that never quite went away. Her labs reflected what she was feeling. Her body was under stress. We didn't change everything at once. We simply introduced fresh pineapple into her weekly routine. Not canned, not processed, but raw, including a bit of the core. Within weeks, she started noticing something subtle but important: less bloating, more consistent energy, and over time her body began responding differently, as if it finally had space to reset. Because that's what pineapple does. It creates space for healing. But there's one critical detail most people miss. Canned pineapple, the kind sitting in syrup on store shelves, has almost no active bromelain left. Heat processing destroys the very enzyme that makes this fruit so powerful. So again, it's not just what you eat, it's how you choose it. And now, if you step back for a moment, you'll see the full picture forming. You're reducing the load, protecting the cells, activating repair, and clearing out the damage. But even knowing all of this still isn't enough, because there's one final factor, the one that determines whether any of this actually works in the long run. And it's the part almost everyone gets wrong. And this is the part I want you to really hold on to. Your body is not failing you. Your kidneys are not giving up. They've been working for you, quietly, tirelessly, every single day, filtering, balancing, protecting, even when you didn't realize they needed help. And the fact that you're here, still watching, still learning, means you're not too late. You don't need to change everything overnight. You don't need perfection. What matters is consistency. Small, smart decisions repeated daily. Choosing the right fruits. Paying attention to how your body responds. Giving your kidneys the support they've been asking for all along. So here's my advice to you. Start simple. Pick one change from this video, just one, and commit to it this week. Maybe it's replacing one high-sugar fruit with blueberries. Maybe it's adding an apple with the skin each day. or choosing fresh pineapple instead of processed snacks. Small steps, done consistently, create real change. And if this video helped you even a little, do something important for yourself. Save it. Come back to it. Use it as a reminder, especially on the days when it's easy to fall back into old habits. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because every week I share simple, science-based insights like this to help you protect your kidneys, improve your health, and take back control before it's too late. Because here's the truth. Kidney disease doesn't happen overnight, but neither does healing. And the choices you make today could be the reason you never have to face dialysis tomorrow. Take care of your kidneys, and they will take care of you for the rest of your life.